We live in an age of ceaseless information, so we have to wonder, can a new phone that's been leaked to hell and back really be exciting? Well, in the case of Samsung's new Galaxy Note 8, the answer is a pretty definitive yes. In many ways, it isn't a huge leap over the S8 and S8 Plus from earlier this year, but following the nightmare that was the Galaxy Note 7, Samsung had to prove the Note line still had a place in the world. And, spoiler alert, they did. They're pretty well known by now, but it's worth going over the broad strokes again. The Note 8 packs an octa-core Snapdragon 835 chipset with 6GB of RAM, and in our short time with the phone, it absolutely flew, even with all of Samsung's extra software. And because releasing smartphones every year is all about upping the ante, this year's Note 7 packs an enormous 6.3-inch Super AMOLED screen running at Quad HD. That's way bigger than the Note 7, but this thing feels a whole lot less imposing than you'd think. It's still a handful of a phone, but the almost complete lack of bezels around the Infinity Display's sides make it feel very manageable. Since it keeps the same super long aspect ratio as the S8s did, we found that it's pretty great for split-screen multitasking too, even though we have to wonder how many people actually do this regularly. The Note 8 also comes with a 3300 mAh battery, which, yes, is a little smaller than the one we got in the S8 Plus. A slightly smaller battery was probably a smart move, though in fairness, the S7 Edge also had a bigger battery than the Note 7 did. Either way, Samsung seems pretty confident that this battery won't leave you wanting, or explode, but we'll be the judges of that. Anyway, all of that stuff is wrapped in a beautifully curved, water-resistant body that's oh so comfortable to hold. Oh, and there's a headphone jack. And a spot for the microSD card to supplement the either 64, 128, or 256 gigabytes of storage available. Sadly, we're only getting the 64 gig model here in the US. And of course, there's the S Pen. It's water resistant, just like the Note 8 itself, and it also supports the same 4096 levels of pressure that the Note 7's S Pen did. It's still maybe not quite as nice as putting a pen to paper, but the level of precision here is sure to please stylus fans. It's seriously impressive if you're into that kind of thing. The phone's software hasn't changed a whole lot since we saw the Galaxy S8s, but there are a few new neat S Pen touches that are worth pointing out. With the Note 7, you could use the S Pen to highlight text that you wanted to translate, but here with the Note 8, it works much better since you can now translate full sentences. We tried translating one of our stories into Portuguese, and the results were perfectly understandable. You can also whip up notes on the screen while it's off, but now you can keep jotting for up to 100 pages. Frankly, that's perfect for that young adult novel you've been trying to bang out on the subway. Samsung also added a feature called Live Message, which is going to get used a lot. Basically, you can write out sparkly animated messages and even lay them on top of pictures before exporting all of that as a GIF you can message to friends. Since GIFs are platform neutral, you can send them to anyone with a semi-modern phone while you sit back and bask in your own cleverness. We've also got what Samsung calls app pairs. Essentially, you can program two apps to launch at the same time in split screen mode if you're the kind of person who likes, thumbing through lyrics in Genius while listening to Spotify. Crucial? Hardly, but it's a handy touch for people who really love their multitasking. Really though, the biggest change is the camera, and it's a doozy. The Note 8 features Samsung's first flagship dual camera, which pairs a wide-angle 12-megapixel camera with an f1.7 aperture with a 12-megapixel telephoto camera. These kinds of dual cameras are more flexible than the color and monochrome setup some phones use, and after a little playtime, we're very impressed with what Samsung has managed to deliver. Our test photos came through with remarkable color and clarity, even in the dim corners of Samsung's demo station, and by working together, the cameras have a 2x optical zoom for getting things nice and tight. More importantly, both sensors pack optical image stabilization to help keep things really crisp even when things get dark. As you'd expect, having two cameras here means you can fiddle with the depth of field to add some background blur to your photos. The difference between this implementation and others is here you can control how much blur you want in your shot while you're taking it, and even after you've already snapped the photo. So far, we've really enjoyed just how good the Note 8 is at finding the edges of whatever's sitting in the foreground. We'll admit it, the iPhone 7 Plus might have a slight advantage, but the Note 8 seems slightly better at gently tapering off those edges into that blurry background. We're going to need a little more time to test this thing before drawing any conclusions, but we're cautiously optimistic. Samsung just might have built the dual camera to beat. Samsung likes to think of the Note as a platform for innovation, which honestly seems a little strange since we'd argue the S8s are where most of the really big changes happen. That doesn't make the Note 8 any less impressive though. While it was kind of easy to question the future of the Galaxy Note for a while, the Note 8 is a strong argument for why these phablets need to exist. They're big, they're beautiful, and they're incredibly functional. We'll start working on our full Note 8 review as soon as we get one in for testing, so hang in there for the meantime. At least you won't have to wait too long to buy one. The Note 8 officially goes on sale in the US on September 15th.